Hi there, welcome back. Welcome to a prelude to a new project. I know it's strange, but this is going to be a video, a single video on something I want to do to this radio. And I promise you afterwards I'll do the usual restoration in detail, ad nauseum detail. But what I want to do here is something slightly different, and I'll get to that in a second. Let's just have a look at this guy for a minute. This is a Telefunken Opus 8. Now you can see the size, it's quite impressive. These Telefunkens were the top of the range, or near the top of the range when they first came out. Probably amongst the best radios that were sold at the time. I still have my doubts as to whether this beats the Sabers. I don't think so. Certainly in price they didn't, but in terms of quality these things were quite amazing. And this one has got the usual, volume control. It's got a rotatable antenna. The ferrite antenna is, you can direct it depending on the angle you want it at. And it's got all the knobs here, the off and record player, tape. Then you've got long wave, medium wave, short wave, and FM on the piano keys. There's a broadband or bandwidth switch as well. You've got the usual tone switches, but you've also got the normal bass and treble controls. This is one other feature here which I like, and that is that on shortwave you have fine tuning. The switch or the knob that's used for FM tuning doubles as a fine tuning, sort of a band spread switch or band spread selection in the shortwave band. The cabinet itself is in pretty good condition. There are a few dings here and there, but nothing too dramatic. All the plastics are in place. Sides are perfectly fine. When we look at the back, look inside, we see just how dramatic this thing is. This thing is in very good condition, and you can judge from the speakers they have here that the quality is going to be pretty amazing. It's got two very big speakers here, and then there are the side speakers as well that are actually made up of sort of a mid-range and an electrostatic tweeter as well. So the sound on this thing should be absolutely fantastic. What do we have here? Well, the ferrite antenna. At least it came with it. Could have gone walkabout, but at least we've got that. But that certainly broke off. Other than that, I can't see anything too dramatic here. Nothing too unusual. But why did I say this was a prelude to a restoration? Well, that's exactly what I want to do. I want to try just do a repair video. And I'm completely against repairs on these radios, and I'll explain why. Maybe this story will explain why. When I arrived in Madeira, I was 23 years old, and my father had a Land-rover in the garage. We were immigrated in South Africa. He had a Land-rover that'd been sitting there for I don't know how long, but it was in the garage, and I wanted to do around the island trip, and I wanted to do it like the next day. So I tried to start it, it wouldn't start. There was a neighbor who understood a bit about mechanics, and I called him in and he said, right, the battery's dead, which we expected, and there was something else minor that he had to repair. He promptly repaired that and said, the car can go. So I went. I got in the car. I started driving. I got to the top of one of the mountains and I was coming down the hill, and this thing is quite a hill, and the brakes failed. And I ended up having to decide whether I was going to go off a cliff or jam it into the wall. There was another option, and that is to just try and keep the car on the road. I managed to get it to a sort of a flat area, and then finally, with the help of the handbrake, I managed to stop the car. When I took it into the mechanic, or they came and took the car away, the guy told me that the brake pads had frozen up because the everything that was rubber had dried up, so the brakes failed. And he was actually sort of, surprised that I would wonder whether this thing was going to fail. It failed because it had been sitting in a garage for years, unused, and it had developed age. And there are certain components in a car that age and that need to be replaced. It's not a question of, finding them not working. They can look fine, but they will break once you put it under pressure, under stress. These things are the same. And one of the reasons this is turning to a bit of a rant is that I've had quite a few people come to me in Madeira with radios like this asking me just to do a quick repair. Oh, we don't want a restoration. It looks good. It's cleaned. You know, we put furniture polish on it once a month or so. Just do a quick repair. We want to get it to work. And my answer is always no. And they get pretty pissed off about it until I explain to them why. These things have components in here that are 60, 70 years old. Those components have not seen high voltage for a long time. And when they get that high voltage, they can fail. And they can fail pretty dramatically. First of all, you're working with very high voltages, so the effect can be very dramatic. But if you have this thing, you know, in a living room against a curtain or something, and this thing, the transformer starts overheating, and it can actually start a fire, you know, then you wonder, how did it happen? You know, why did the brakes fail? This thing was starting, it was working, the battery was fixed up. You know, why did the brakes fail? Well, the brakes fail because they are going to fail. Sooner or later, they're going to fail. Now, a restoration is what I like to do because you are actually going through the whole procedure, the whole system, and checking every single thing and correcting or replacing those components that you know are going to fail. And I've had quite a few people say to me, you know, you do these restoration series that look like the Rocky movies, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why don't you just show us how you repair them? And this video is to show you how easy, I hope, it is to repair one of these things, and how dangerous. I probably won't show you how dangerous, but to explain to you just how dangerous it can be if you do not do a proper restoration on these radios. The sound can come out, the thing can tune, but it's a time bomb. And if anybody's had one of these blow up on them, when I say blow up, it's usually overheat, you'll know what I'm talking about. Okay, so this video is a repair. Can I repair this? How long will I take to repair this? And I'm not sure how long it's going to be. I have no idea. I bought this thing on eBay from Germany. It arrived this week, and the seller says, switch it on, nothing happened. Nothing worked. So there are no promises here, but I want to see if I can repair this as if I were a repairman on the clock with a boss telling me I've got 4 more to do today. All right? Let's see how we get along, and let's see what the result is. This introduction, as long as it is, might never be shown because I might not be able to repair it. But I'll give it a try. Oh, and afterwards, I will then start a proper restoration series on this. I don't know if it's going to be as long as the Rocky series, but we'll see. It's certainly not going to be as long as the Grundig Sattler 3400, which is on video 12 or 13, I think. And there's another one coming because I'm waiting for some parts. But we'll see. I hope you enjoy it. And there are in fact only 2 connections here, so we're lucky. There are 2 wires here. So obviously, nothing is obvious, but as obvious as it can be, these 2 solder on there. But firstly, I just want to look at the schematic and make sure that there's nothing hidden over here. I want to make sure this is just one coil, and I also want to just check for continuity on this coil. We've got that on ohms. I expect pretty low ohms. Yep, this coil is good. So I'll just solder that on there. Okay, that's done. Let me just make sure that it's actually made proper contact. I'll test down here. Yep, that's done. I think we're ready to power it up. I'm going to give it all the light bulbs. I'm going to drop the voltage. It's on 0. Put it on. That stays off because there's no voltage coming in. It's on limit, so it's going through these light bulbs. That's 200 watt light bulbs, so there's still a restriction, but not that much. Now the one thing to bear in mind is this thing says on the back maximum 85 watts at 220 volts. So I'm expecting something like 300 milliamps maximum, okay? So let's start. Actually, I'll put it on medium wave. put the volume on high on the radio and start dialing it up. We're at 100 volts. Our voltage here goes to 230, so we're still not even halfway. I can't see anything on the radio. Let me look on the back. Oh, one of the dial bulbs is on, glowing very dimly. It's drawing 110 milliamps. I'm just going to keep going up and I'm going to watch that. I don't want that to shoot up or the light bulbs to go suddenly ultra bright. We're at about 200 volts. It's drawing 200 milliamps. I can hear some noise. We can hear something. It's picking up something. The antenna rotator at the back here is moving as well. Whoa. It doesn't sound good, does it? Still only drawing 250 milliamps, so we're giving this these switches are dirty. The volume down. These switches are really, really bad. It's drawing 250 milliamps, shortwave. I now hear nothing. FM. I'm going to raise the voltage a bit on FM because it probably needs a bit more. Up to 230, and it's drawing 300 milliamps. And I hear absolutely nothing. Nothing on FM. I did pick up something over here. Whoa. Well, that doesn't look too promising, does it? So much for my optimism, trying to get a quick repair to show you the difference between repair and restore. I'm going to check voltages. Make sure the voltages are getting through. And to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the tubes, and I'm going to test the anodes or the high voltage points on each respective tube and see what's happening. Let's get on with it. I've removed the two EL84s. These are push-pull, and there are two B pluses on here. The anode, which is pin 7, has the B plus. I call it B1 plus. Pin 7, 258, and pin 9 is the screen grid, which has got B2 plus, yes. And pin 1 of the EC92 has also got high voltage, yep. So it looks like the supply is working. I'm going to go one step further now. I'm going to actually feed a signal into the gramophone input and see if we have the amplifier stage working. Okay, the tubes are in. I've got a signal generator connected to here with a tone. Now I've got it on pick up and put the volume up. Certainly working. Trying those tone select switches. Volume control's working. Okay, so the audio amp is working. Okay, what I want to check first is I want to check the, switch it on, the bias of the EL84s. That's the cathode. It'll go up to 8 volts, should go up to 8 volts. About 8 volts, according to the schematic. Not bad. It's a little high. Let's check what the grids are like. The grids, there's the grid. 0.2. What's the other grid? Let's see what the other grid is like. Whoa! Whoa! 5 point something volts. That is supposed to be 0 volts. That thing is way too high. So that capacitor C59, it seems, is leaking like crazy. One of them. Okay, that's the first thing I'm going to do is swap that out. I won't even do anything else for now. Swap it out and see what we get. That would really do some damage to that tube and possibly even the output transformer. Okay, let's not get too dramatic and just swap it out. Alright, here's what I've done so far. I have replaced that capacitor, the one that was leaking really badly. I have cleaned the switches with contact cleaner. I have cleaned the pot. It was a bit tight. And let's try it, see what happens. I've got the voltage on maximum voltage on 230. I've still got the 200 watt bulb in there. I'm not that brave. See if we get anything. Bit of noise. It's trying to pick up. That's medium wave. Try long wave. Short wave. FM. It's trying. Whoa, really low. It's actually picking up stations, which means the FM front end is working. So what do these have in common? Well, the tubes. The tubes are in common. In fact, everything except the front tube, everything except the FM block tube, the ECC85, is in common. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace those tubes one at a time with tubes that I know are working and see what we get. Let's give it a go. I'll come back and tell you what happened. Okay, I've done that. Let's see what we get.
Es una especie de cañón natural realmente increíble. Bueno, decíamos, hay 9 bocas activas, grietas de fusión. A nivel científico también se le puede llamar protocráteres, pero bueno, mejor llamar. Cuando hemos ido a Lanzarote, tú sabes que en Lanzarote, otra isla volcánica, pero mucho más calmada, hay un atractivo turístico que tiene que ver con la maravilloso. Una cueva que era un túnel volcánico, es decir, que es lo que ha formado la lava y una vez retirado queda este punto vacío. Bueno, hay que destacar que en las Islas Canarias se le llama también a estos lugares que quedan abiertos donde el techo del túnel se ha derrumbado. Es algo que pasa muchas veces cuando el túnel de lava, una vez la lava se retira, ese cambio de من اول نظره ما كاينش شي حاجه كنت حب من اول نظره وهناك اعجاب من اول نظره الحب
Ah,
Renascença com o apoio da Câmara Municipal de Gaia.
Organizar, renovar, sim, renovar.
Beauty.
A casa precisa para a nova estação. Vou já às lojas.
I've actually got the mini whip connected to the AM side. Let me put it on the FM side.
Final. Espaço Casa. Ideias para a sua casa.
Oh, guess what? Yes, it works, right?
O Expresso os melhores médicos de 30 especialidades. Temas que mais o preocupam. Psiquiatria à pneumologia, das doenças infecciosas à medicina no trabalho. Um roteiro.
Ozzy Sampaio a Robert Plant e Joe Sacco.
Listen to that.
Jazz na banda desenhada As Histórias que o Jazz Inspirou, de 16 de setembro.
So what did I do? Well, I took out the F89s. There are two of them in the IF block, IF chain. That made no difference. And then I took out the ECH81, which acts as the oscillator and mixer for the AM and also as an amplification stage for the FM. And that's when this happened. But FM works really well.
As autoridades já conseguiram contactar a maioria dos portugueses que vivem em La Palma, nas Canárias, onde um vulcão entrou em erupção no último domingo. Neste lote, falta apenas contactar um dos 12 cidadãos nacionais que ali vivem. Apenas uma portuguesa abandonou para já a habitação por precaução. Berta Nunes, a secretária de Estado das Comunidades, deixa um apelo contactada pela Renascença.
Também sabemos que a situação está a evoluir e até a recomendação que nós fazemos é que todos os portugueses que estejam...
All right. Well, that is what repair looks like. Very poor on the long wave and medium wave, pretty normal. I can only get long wave, medium wave really because I use the mini whip antenna. With the ferrite, I get absolutely zero on here. Even the local station doesn't come in. And the FM is as good as it's going to get in a repair. So if I was doing a repair on this, I would close up the back and send it back to the guy and charge him. And probably if I was ethical, I should just add a bit more on the price and include a fire extinguisher because he will probably need it. Well, folks, the end of another adventure, this repair. And as I said at the beginning, this is not so much a how to do it rather than a how not to do it. I am very, very vehement about this whole thing about not getting into this kind of repair because I've seen quite a few cases in Madeira, in a small market, very small number of people that have these radios compared to probably where you are, with problems. I've heard of situations of transformers basically melting down the part of the chassis, smoke coming out. I haven't actually heard of a house being burned down by one, but hey, if I sit around long enough and read the papers, who knows? I hope not. But this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to explain, I wanted to show you just how easy it is to do a repair like this. I mean, I literally spent, if I discount the filming and all that sort of thing, I probably did this in 45 minutes, okay? The actual work on the radio I did in about 45 minutes. You'll notice I didn't even take it out of the chassis. I wanted to sort of time it to see how long it took me, about 45 minutes. Now, the restoration will take me, I was going to say 45 days, but not quite. Restorations like this will take me a couple of weeks, 3 weeks sometimes. It is a hobby. I don't do this professionally. I do this purely for fun. I mentioned doing other people's stuff because on a place as small as this, word travels, and the news got around that there's this crazy South African Madeiran engineer that likes fixing old radios, and there aren't many people who do that. So people have come to me, friends of friends, and I like to do them because I get pleasure from doing the restoration. It's no big deal for me to collect these radios afterwards. I like having them. They give me a lot of satisfaction knowing that I've brought them back to life. But my kick is not from owning old radios and having a huge collection. If I can get rid of some of them, my wife would be thankful, I assure you. But my kick is from actually doing the job, doing the restoration. And of course, sharing it with you in huge series of videos and blabbing on for a long time. You know, nobody listens to me here. Sorry. But this is it. This is the repair. I now am going to finish off for now. I'm going to consider this one not even touched. I'm going to open this up in the near future and start a restoration series. And I'm going to look at that one capacitor, and not so much the tube, but the one capacitor that's been replaced as the work of some, you know, the guy who just doesn't change the brakes. And I'm going to start it from scratch. I'm going to look at the sections like I usually do, go through the whole thing. This radio really deserves it. I mean, this thing, when this thing is properly done, I expect it to have an amazing sound. Amazing. And one of the things that I want to take advantage of is precisely that amazing sound and the very good amplification stage, the EL84 push-pull. It should produce very good sound, so I believe I'm going to put some Bluetooth, a Bluetooth receiver on here, so it can be a very, very good Bluetooth amplifier, tube amplifier and speakers. That's what I like to use them for as well. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed that. Hope I've put you off getting into these things and causing any house fires. Hope I've put you on to doing full restorations and taking it slow, and don't look at the time and, you know, all that sort of thing. And if you've enjoyed that, click like and share the video and all that jazz. And I'll see you back soon for another video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now and stay safe.